Hey everyone, Nick Engvall here. Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast, where we dive into the people, stories, and iconic moments that have helped make sneakers a global phenomenon. If you've ever told someone you like their kicks, then you're in the right place. Before we lace up this episode, I want to tell you about my newsletter, where I share my knowledge from nearly 2 decades of experience working in the footwear industry. You can find the link to that below or go to sneakerhistory.com/newsletter for a weekly-ish deep dive into the biggest topics in the footwear industry. On today's show, Mike talks with Brandon Brubaker, co-founder and CEO of Clearweather brand, an independent footwear company based in Southern California that's celebrating 10 years of being in business this year. They've been kind enough to hook our listeners up with 15% off from now until October 6th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Time. Just use the code SNEAKERHISTORY15 on your order from clearweatherbrand.com or check the description of this episode for details. All right, now that we have the business taken care of, grab your favorite pair of kicks and let's get started with the episode.
Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a move!
LeBron James with no regard for human life.
Final seconds. Bryant for the win. Iverson against Gill. The crowd on its feet. Allen for the win.
Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Sneaker History Podcast, and especially our Coffee Time Kick segment. Of course, I am your host, Mike. Guys, I have a special guest here. I have a designer, a brand owner, and all-around person that we love to speak with on Sneaker History. We have Brandon Brubaker. Brandon, what's going on, man? Co-owner of Clearweather, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Correct, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. No, appreciate the time. And again, this is what we love to do on Sneaker History. We love to just get down past the surface level of just, oh, this sneaker's releasing here, that, this, and the third. We love to talk about how really people get started, what, their love of sneakers. And Brandon, with your journey is super interesting, starting from these super well-known household names to going out on your own and creating something that I've seen your shoes before. I've seen them in stores. So there's actually a store called Proper.
Of course. Yeah. Mike, he's the homie. Yeah.
So I'm in Houston. So I think that we're their second location. So their Long Beach is the original location. And I've seen your shoes in their store. Super creative designs. I love materials you guys use. It's such just a very interesting sneaker. Now, I haven't got my hands on one yet to actually try it, but it's one of those things every time I see it, I'm like, this is just such a cool look, something different than the norm. And I really can appreciate what you guys do there in your design language. And, with that, what drove you to sneakers? Was it a love you had as a kid?
I mean, dude, it's like something that I was so young that I didn't even realize, right? I was always into sneakers, of course. I grew up in Southern California. So it was I grew up in a time where it was, Vans, you could go in and pick your material and get your shoes custom made, right? Per se, custom made, on a platform. You were getting old schools done, with the materials that they had. You could mix the colors how you wanted. So that was always a cool, interesting thing to me. Obviously, just love footwear at a young age, right? And didn't know why, didn't even realize that people actually designed it and this and that, But I guess my journey really started when I was I graduated from high school and I moved to San Diego, and I was just surfing and, working valet parking cars so I could surf. And barely going to school just because I thought that's what you were supposed to do. I grew up in a time where there wasn't really there wasn't trade schools, and there wasn't, it was very much just college and then, into the workforce, and that always seemed kind of stale to me. To me, I was was never really a studious person, I guess you could say, right? Besides my art classes, Hey,
man, but, you like what you like, though. That's nothing wrong with that.
it kind of began there. I ended up meeting this dude that actually, Bill Mann, that actually was helping Vans more or less climb out of bankruptcy, at the time. And I met him and he was like, can you draw? And I was like, yeah, I like draw all the time, you know? And he was more or less asked me to draw a skate shoe and a snowboard boot. And this was very early in like snowboarding where Vans wasn't even, they were just barely starting to make snowboard boots, you know? Mm-hmm. And I ended up, this is how old school it is, dude. I faxed him my drawings, right? So,
dang, I haven't heard faxing forever.
Yeah, right? Like that awesome little noise. But I faxed him the 2 drawings I did, and he more or less offered me a job, like as his gopher and his like eyes on the streets, because he knew I was involved in the skate and surf culture, and he felt like they didn't have enough people like around. This is the dude that like literally started Airwalk back in the day as well.
Oh, okay.
Right? So, yeah. Super awesome dude. He passed away a few years ago, but he was kind of pivotal in that, I guess, per se, because I didn't even realize that there was people that actually physically drew the shoes, right?
Yeah.
Like I was just in the mindset where I didn't even like think about that, you know? And he offered me a job, and being me at a young age, I was like, I'm not going to be somebody's gopher. Like, go get you lunch. And like, if you're offering me and I kind of thank God for that, like, you know, because like I was willing to like say no, even though it was like a really interesting proposition for me.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, well, that doesn't, like, you know, I think he offered me like $12 an hour. And I was like, in my young mind, I was like, well, I make $14 an hour valet parking cars. Mm-hmm. And I'm like going to school and surfing. So like, I don't really need to do that. I was living in Encinitas, and Vans was in Orange, right? So I was like, that's a far drive, you know? And so I kind of shoved it aside and was like, I'm not going to do that. And then Sadi Ratsula, which was this Finnish woman that was running all of design for Vans at the time, she called me and was like, hey, I got a hold of your drawings from Bill Mann, and I want you to come up and interview. Oh. And she was like a really awesome lady, you know, and I was like, look, I'm not like trying to be disrespectful at all, but like I already came up and interviewed with Bill, and he offered me to be his gopher. And it didn't seem like that was a position for me to put myself into design, you know? Yeah. I didn't really want to just be a consultant, you know? It didn't seem like a smart move for me because of school and like just a bunch of other stuff and just my life, like the lifestyle I was living at the time. I was like, this is fantastic. I get to do whatever I want, you know? And then she was like, no, I want you to come design, and I want to hire you as an assistant designer. And I was like, oh, okay. Then we're talking a different deal, you know?
Yeah.
And I went up and interviewed with her, and she was like, okay, when can you start? And I was kind of like, well, we got to talk about money. And like, you know, I already make like $14 an hour. So and she's like, okay, I'll pay you $15 an hour. And you could still go to school, and you can work like 2 days a week or 3 days a week, you know? And I was already only going to school 2 days a week anyways, because I was doing the bare minimum, you know? And so I was like, yeah, I took it, you know? Yeah. And I mean, it literally catapulted my whole entire career on like what I was going to do the rest of my life. And I didn't even know it at the time, you know?
That's so cool.
Didn't know enough about it to even have rules or regulations. I was like literally drawing shoes, faxing them to Korea, you know, and then having, you know, doing all the colorways with Prism markers, and then sending those over with Pantone chips in like a DHL package. Yeah. You know?
Oh man.
So that's cool. I mean, it's pretty interesting, you know.
It's just one of those like right place, right time kind of deal. So that's totally. You don't know what's gonna happen, but you talk to the right people. Just kind of like But I love the fact that you didn't just jump in, because I think a lot of times people say opportunity with the brand, I'm just going to take it, and then end up in some dark hole of nothing they wanted to do.
Right. End up being a sample coordinator or something,
Yeah.
So, like, I definitely, like, which now I look back at it and I'm like, damn, dude, like, I was actually thinking, like, at that age, you're just like, I'm going to do whatever. But I was like, I definitely put myself into a position where, and man, I fell in love with it. Like, I fell in love with it so heavily, like, that it was like, that was really when my sneaker, like, taste and like everything, just, I started paying a lot more attention, because at that point I wasn't really wearing Vans a lot, because Vans had stopped doing like old schools and eras and like all their vulcanized stuff. They were going hard like towards like cup soles and like, more of like, just more of the stuff that I guess was on trend at the time. But I think they were definitely wrong about that. It wasn't, because obviously they came back to all the vulcanized stuff.
Definitely
right?
did.
So, but I think that's just people not really knowing like the ethos of the brand, which I knew very well from being just, I was wearing Vans since I was young. So it's like, so to me, it's like I knew what they were all about through skateboarding and through like active culture, So it really became like one of those things where, I started designing. I got my first shoe came out. It was called the Dano. And I like saw somebody at the movies. I was at the movies with my girlfriend and some dude was wearing my shoes. And I was like, no way.
That's cool.
And it was like a mainstream cup sole. Like, honestly, I like don't even fully remember what it looks like. I don't even have a photo of it, but I remember it was like impactful for me in the sense of being like, holy crap, like that dude's wearing a shoe that I drew, so it was really cool.
That's awesome. Did you say anything to him, or just like, man, just like someone's like hearing your song on the radio?
No, I didn't, dude. I've like really like my whole career. I've like kind of, I say stuff to people, but in the sense like even with Clearweather now, it's like I'm like, hey, those shoes are sick. And I don't even say anything. You know what I mean?
That's so cool.
To me, it's just more like, or I'll say, oh, those shoes are tight. Where'd you get them?
Yeah.
Like, because I want to know for myself, for my own company. It's like, did he get them from Proper or did he get them direct? Now it's most likely direct because it's like 90% of our business is direct, But it's been a crazy journey, man. I've like seen a lot, and learned a lot.
Man, that's awesome. So it's funny, when I was, you worked at Vans. So about 2-3 weeks ago, I had I got to speak with Catherine Acosta. She's the archivist for Vans. Oh, okay. And then I had no idea. So your story about how you started with Vans and like you're going in and get your shoes designed with your own fabric and material, I had no idea that was a thing.
Oh, yeah. That was a Southern California thing, bro.
That's like the beginning of this. Like you look at Nike IDs and all these. That was, in my mind now, look at the timeline. That was the beginning of that custom shoe through a brand. And then again, it all kind of tied together because she's doing all the work on the archive side, bringing out references for their new sneakers and their new marketing campaign. So it's cool because at some point, I'm sure that your sneakers have come up or will come up, and just having you guys both on almost like simultaneously was really cool to see, what you've done and how she's like digging into it now.
Yeah, that's cool. They just actually, I guess it was when I was living in New York, Jeff Rowley's shoe, which he's a pro skateboarder, his shoe became a classic, right? Which is that was a shoe that I designed, so it's like, it's kind of cool to see, like, I think about it, I'm like, that shoe, me and Jeff designed that shoe in, I guess, 97, 98.
Okay.
And then it released in 99, and it's still like one of like their big shoes, you know? So that's kind of cool. And it's like, obviously I'm friends with Jeff and everything. So it's like, when I lived in New York, when it became a classic, he sent me, I was working for Converse at the time, and he sent me like the pair, you know, and I was like, yeah, that's sick, you know?
It's just like this cool, like, it's almost like a photo album, but of just things you've done. You can go back and see, like, the classics, the retros they bring back out. Do you have any of your like old models just kind of stored away just as like keepsakes?
Man, I don't. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I'm like the whole sneakerhead thing, I'm like, I have photos of them. Like, but to me, it's like my shoes are in such heavy rotation because I wear my shoes. I'm not like putting anything on ice. You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, it's like I have a few shoes that that I've kept, but like, it's not a big deal to me. I don't have room at my house. Like, I've done so much shoes. It's like, you know, to keep them all would be like, it would be a lot. It's funny at Vans, they used to number them, right? So like the BB01 was like my first shoe. And then I think I was like, I don't know, dude. I was like in the hundreds by the time I left. You know what I mean? So it's like, and that was over like an 8-year span, you know? So, and that's not everything. That was like literally every tech pack like that got sent off would get numbered. So not all of them came out, but you know, I was high up in there. So it's kind of cool.
That's so cool, man. Just seeing that, like, that perspective of getting to actually design and like what that looks like. So, I mean, from Vans, you moved to Converse / Nike, because I guess they were already purchased by Nike at that time? Or was
I didn't, actually. I went from Vans to start my first footwear company that was mine, and it was called Force CE. Okay. And it was like kind of like the first, it was like a quick like 2-year jaunt, right? But it was like the first I guess you would say like skate / lifestyle like brand, right? Because we were doing like Wallabies and we were doing runners, and like no skate companies were doing that at the time. Yeah. But then that got all crazy because the partners that I did it with ended up getting sued by Vans because they used to work for Vans, and I had to go to Gary Schoenfeld's office to Vans and more or less ask him not to sue me, you know? And I was like, dude, I didn't know any of this was going on. Like, and he more or less just told me and my friends that we started it. He just told me, like, you guys have to leave or we'll come after you, you know? And I'm like, I already left when I found out.
I'm already gone.
You know? We literally found out and we started Creative Recreation.
Wait, so you started Creative Recreation?
Yeah.
Okay, and good Lord, what year is this now? So,
oh God,
there was
it was probably 2000. Man, I guess that would have been 2002.
Okay,
probably.
Yeah, so in 2000 had to be, because there was Creative Recreation. That is one of those shoes I can like equate to an era. Like, there was a point, I feel like between like 2005 and like 2012, I swear everybody had a pair of that shoe. I had a pair of,
the Cesario.
Yeah. I had I had the high top. They were black with the gray accents. Oh man, I think I bought it from like a Chic Shoes. Yeah, I wore that shoe to the ground.
Yeah, my friend Rich Kofinko did that. So he was actually, Rich Kofinko was the snowboard boot designer at Vans, and I was the lead skate designer. Okay. And me and him were asking our bosses if I could design a snowboard boot and he could design a skate shoe, because I snowboarded and he was interested in doing shoes, and they said no. And we did it anyway. So he submitted the design, I submitted his, you know, and that kind of formed our relationship and bond. Yeah. And then when we decided to leave and start Force, that's who I started Force with as well. Okay. And And then we blew that up, and Talib Kweli is on the freaking roof in New York on the Just to Get By video, and he was wearing our shoes, and we were like, "No, we made it! That's it! It's
man, that had to be a moment right there.
It's mind blowing to us, right? We were so pumped,
awesome.
And then that ended up getting weird with investors, and I ended up leaving, and then I started working for Converse.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I know you used pretty much looks like you pioneered like the skate division in Converse, or really like invigorated the life into it. Yeah. Was that something that you went in like, hey, we need this? Like as you were brought on for Converse, seeing what Nike 6.0 going into Nike SB, and then wanted to kind of just again add more to what the Converse side of things, or what inspired you to say, hey, Converse is where we need to bring skate? Well,
to me, it was like I was freelancing, and I was stoked. I was getting a lot of work, and I was like, I'm good. I'm just gonna do this. I mean, I'm chilling. I could do whatever I want working from home. I just got married, and my adult life was just beginning, right? And then I was actually surfing with Bob Hurley, and Nike had bought Hurley and Converse, right? And I saw Bob out there, and he was like, "Hey, what are you doing right now? You're not doing creative recreation anymore, right?" And I'm like, "No, I left." And he goes, "I'd like you to come in and meet Bob Dimke," which he was running, Converse at the time. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "I want you to do like Hurley footwear." And I was like, I don't want to do sandals, dude. Like at this point, I mean, I'm a like straight up like footwear engineer, and I was like designer / engineer. So I was like, yeah, I could do that, but I had hesitations on working for Hurley for my career portfolio, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, you would be working for Converse." And then that kind of sparked my ear a little bit, and I was like, "Okay, I'll come in and talk to him." And my whole angle the whole time was like, okay, if I do this, like I'll do Hurley shoes, because I looked at that would be very easy to build a line for them, right?
Yeah.
Because I knew them and I knew what they were looking for. So I'm like, yeah, I could do that more or less in my sleep, right? I'm like, but I want there to be a carrot that is like, I can talk to Converse about starting skateboarding again, because I felt like Converse had a really good opportunity to get back into skateboarding. They were crushing it with, which they still are with Chuck Taylor. It's like that shoe just doesn't go away, right?
Yeah. It's just like a lifetime shoe. Like it's just like almost like when you took a culture, like cultural brands that right there.
100%. Right. And that's, I feel like I've been very fortunate in the sense where it's like, I feel like everything starts with understanding the company that you're doing and understanding what they need, right? Because it's like, I mean, everything's about brand ethos, dude. You have to have that to be able to execute and design against it, right?
Yep.
So once I took the job, I met Andrea Stoll, which she was like kind of like, she was the vice president, like product line manager there. And I just went straight in with her, and I was like, okay, what's the plan? Like, and she could tell, she was like, oh my God, like what did Bob Dimke tell this to,
Like he's on a mission. He's going to get this done.
Yeah. And one of my main things with them was I wouldn't move to the East Coast, right? Because I'm from here, and, I didn't really want to move to Boston. I felt like that would have uprooted my whole life,
Yeah.
And they were like, that's not a problem. We have offices at the Hurley office, and you can just start the West Coast.
Easy.
Yeah. And I'm like, sign me up. Let's go.
That's cool. So what was the first skate shoe you brought to life with Converse?
Definitely the CT S. So it's like the Chuck Taylor skate.
Yeah. Was that just, of course, the same Chuck Taylor design. Was it just like a little bit more padded? It was like the ankle collar a little bit more?
Well, yeah. This is the fun part of something like that, right? Is I'm like, Chucks are so uncomfortable, it's not even funny, right? So the first thing that we need is an insole, an insock, right? And Andrea, my boss, was like, spend as much money as you want building the insole. And I was like, you can't tell me that as a designer, right? As a business owner now, I know better, right? But it's like, at the time I was like, let's go. So I started researching the different types of PU, like the best impact, the best absorption, like all of that. Like just went on down the rabbit hole of like trying to figure out what is the best, because their solution was just use Lunar Lawn.
I was going to ask you that. It was Lunar Lawn what you guys looked at first.
And I at the time I felt like it was very important that, because not everybody knew Converse was owned by Nike, right? So it's like, I felt like that was a good thing for Converse, right? Because very different brands, dude. Very sport on Nike and very lifestyle on Converse, right? Yeah. So I was like, you guys have to keep that separation. You guys have to make people not knowing that work for you, right? Yeah. And I felt like putting a Nike green Lunar Lawn insole in that just automatically let people know that Nike's the boss. The machine, So I went the totally opposite direction. I was like, I built this insole that ended up being like $6 an insole, which would have totally priced us out of the market, right? But the insole was good, and I had a good factory partner that helped me break it down and still got it really good. I mean, the heel stabilizer in the insole. Like, there was a lot of sick stuff that went into that. So I got it down to a reasonable price. And then it was more about using poly canvases that, are a little more abrasion resistant, doing different canvas weaves that don't look different, but that perform different. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it was like padding the tongue, padding the collar a little more. So that was like really easy, using better gum rubbers. Because the one thing that Vans always had on everybody is their gum rubber is stickier than everybody's, right? And that's like a secret compound. But I started messing with compounds of gum rubber for the bottoms. Just stuff like that. I think the main thing with Converse was getting them to let us use Cons skateboarding. So Cons was basketball, right?
Yeah.
So back in the day, when you're talking about Larry Bird days and Magic and all
Cons
that,
weapon,
it was Cons weapon, all that, right? So it was really cool for me in the sense it was me and Steve Luther was the head of marketing for skateboarding, like at the time. Well, at the building, at the inception of the relaunch of Cons. Yeah. And he was right in the camp with me because we were looking at it like, we can get, Kenny Anderson and I don't know who, Anthony Pappalardo at the time, and they could go back to back holding the shoes.
Like
and
the
it was like
Converse ad.
The weapon ad, right? So I'm like, we can play this, And it was like a big deal. Like I had to go up and talk to the Nike board and like present the line. Which, dude, I was pretty young. I was like kind of tripping. I guess I was 30 at the time, and I was going, whoa, dude, this is kind of heavy. I'm like sitting in front of like heavy hitters at Nike, like trying to convince them to let us do skateboarding,
Yeah.
So
was there any pushback of them thinking it would kind of cannibalize what they were trying to do on the Nike side?
Yes. So they were very much like, we could do skateboarding, but we couldn't have a team. Like we couldn't have skaters. And I was like, and me and Luther were like, well, we can't do this without having a professional team, right?
Yeah, that's how it works. That's how you brand it. That's how you market it.
Doesn't make sense, right? So our pitch to them was like, you guys go after like Nike skaters and Converse skaters to this day are different style of skateboarders,
Very
right?
much so,
And
yeah.
like anybody that knows the culture, like kind of knows that, right? And me and Luther were a part of that. We were like, dude, we'll go after Sammy Baca, Kenny Anderson. We'll go after dudes that fit the Converse brand ethos, you know? And we ended up convincing them to like let us have a team and launch the whole thing. So it was good.
That's awesome, man. Like
Great memories, man. Like I traveled the world with them, man. It was pretty insane.
So, I mean, looking at stuff now, so it's really cool to see that, you know, even though there was such a divide, like when you started, Brandon, but it seems like they're coming together a little bit more. So recently, was it Alexis Slabloni? I don't want to destroy her names. She had a 2-pack. She has her own pro model with Converse, the AS1.
Right.
And then she did a SB Dunk pack as well. So combined for the two, because she was a part of designing the Olympic jerseys for the SB team. So it's really cool that they were able to come together and say, hey, let's do like use her pro model and let her design something on the SB side. That was, they're called the Chameleon, that colorway. So I think that was pretty cool that, you know, kind of like you said, they were very against it, but now we come kind of full circle some years down the line where they're almost working hand in hand.
I think that's way more doable now, right? Because everybody knows now. At that time, it was like nobody knew.
For
so
sure.
It was like kind of keep it under the skirt. Like you don't want to like talk about that, you know? So it's like, I think now it's like very different. It's like people are all of this type of stuff, you know? Podcasts, like kids have their phones, like they know everything about, you know, my daughters are telling me stuff I didn't know. Oh, I saw it on this. I'm like, wow, that's great.
Like, how'd you find that? Like,
yeah, exactly. You know?
So how long were you with Converse before you decided to break off and do Clearweather?
I think I was at Converse for, 8 or 9 years about.
Okay. You were there for a good amount of time then.
Yeah, I mean, I like all the companies I've worked for, like I've put in years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because I just feel like that's really important. I mean, I try to tell people like that are younger than me and like just getting into footwear, go work for one of the corporate giants, you know?
Yeah.
Because no matter what, you learn so much and you get to travel the world on their dime, which is like, that's, I mean, it's exciting. I mean, I was flying like business class to China and Korea when I was like in my early 20s, which is crazy.
That's a dream right there, man. It's like saying the company's dying.
I don't even fly business now with my own company. I'm like, I'll take coach. It's cheaper. Like, you know what I mean?
Heck yeah. That's cool, man. So 8 years passed, you move on. Was it something that, you know, you and a group of people got together with someone working at Converse with you, or just kind of like, you know what,
no,
it's time?
It was actually, I ended up leaving Converse I was living in New York. I lived in New York for like a year and a half running like John Varvatos, First String, Converse skateboarding, basketball, like all of it. Like they told me I could live in New York and work out of the apparel division. Because for some reason, I just didn't want to move to Boston. I had gone there so much just over the years, you know, and I was like, my wife's from New York, so I was like, we'll move to New York, you know, and I ended up working there, like doing that for about a year and a half. And then my brother was actually working at Supra and he built Supra, like, you know, from like the start. And he was like, yo, they're hiring a VP of design. Like, I don't know if they'll hire you because we're brothers, but you might as well like apply for it, you know? Yeah. And I kind of really wanted to move home, dude. You know, I had 2 young kids at the time, and like New York's a hard place to live with, you know, young kids, you know? Yeah. And it's very fast paced. Like if you're single, it's great. But if you're like dealing with schools and like, you know, it's a lot. And so I was ready to come home. I miss surfing. I miss just living in California, which I didn't sell my house when I moved there. Thank God.
Smart.
And so I ended up getting the job at Supra, and I was there for literally 1 year. And then my brother, you know, just came to me and he was like, dude, let's just start our own brand, you know? So we ended up like just starting Clearweather, and that was in December, it's going to be 10 years, which is kind of crazy.
Wow. So when you were at Supra, was that during the time where, I guess, was it Terry Kennedy and like Lil Wayne were like really the front runners for the brand?
Yeah. Like, so it was like, I was there like right when Lil Wayne like had just launched. My brother did all those shoes. Had just launched. What was it? Spectre, right? Wasn't it called Spectre?
I think so. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name. I cannot for the life of me just pin it down.
That. Yeah. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it was like a crazy time because there was like I was literally brought in to like try to help like organize it coming from like a big brand, you know?
Yeah.
And there was just a lot of roadblocks. Like it was definitely like a sales driven company. And I really found out really quickly that I was like, this isn't me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's like no heart and soul into it. It's like, let's pump out product. And at one point you walk in a mall past any like Zoomies or, CCS. I mean, Supra was just plastered everywhere. I mean, you couldn't not see it, you know?
I really knew where I was at when the owner of Supra, the first thing that he told me that my first mission was to get their Zoomies business back. Or not Zoomies, get their Journeys business back. And I was like, damn, dude, that's like my first mission. I was like, I wanted to do cool stuff. I thought this was like
why am I going to just meetings all day? What is that?
I mean, no disrespect to them at all, you know what I mean? But it's like, it was definitely a learning experience for me because I was like, there wasn't a lot of heart and soul in it, you know, where I was like, so.
It's crazy. Like literally just talking to you now, Brandon, you hitting like two key points in like someone went back to my sneaker, like lifetime or lifeline is like between Supra and creative recreation. Like, man, Brandon, I should talk to you a whole lot sooner.
It's crazy.
It's awesome, man. I mean, but
it's so kind of one of those things that just it's like I don't know. Even when I look back at it, like if I like talk about it, I'm like, yeah, damn, that is kind of crazy that I went through all that stuff. You know what I mean?
It's cool. It's such a very like diverse portfolio. Like, of course, you talk to people like, oh, I worked for Nike, and then maybe they went over to Adidas, kind of that same line. But you've kind of hit again all these like really culturally relevant brands, but on different spectrums, from the Converse to the Vans to very like, you know, the hip hop side of things. I feel like with Creative Rec, and then going into Supra, which was the perfect blend. I feel like at a point, people saw it as a blend of rap, hip hop, and skateboarding. So you've really hit these super important timelines in sneakers with your traveling through your career, which is amazing.
Yeah, I literally like when I was at Supra, it's like I think I only ended up doing like I did some of their early shoes when I was freelancing when they first launched.
Oh,
so
cool.
It was like, I kind of helped Angel, the owner of it, like get started. And then what he was offering me to work for him, like Converse was offering me way more. So I ended up going with him. But it was great because I was like, yo, you should hire my brother, you know?
Yeah.
And Angel hired him, and then my brother just exploded that company. Josh designed everything there.
Oh, that's so cool. So man, you came from a family of designers, eh?
Oh yeah. My little sister owns her own eyewear brand called Brew. Yeah. It's in the blood, bro.
That's awesome, man. So you guys got a little bit of everything going on. So what sounds like though, you and your brother started Clearweather.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
100%. Yeah. So
what was what was the idea? What were you guys trying to convey with Clearweather? What was the goal, the mission of the brand?
I mean, to us, we just looked at it as like, I mean, obviously we're from California, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, to us, like Clearweather kind of fit that, steez, but it was also kind of the state of mind that we were in. We kind of felt like we were like really, I don't want to say beat down, but at the time, now that I look back at it, I'm like, come on, dude, you weren't beat down. You got to do like whatever you wanted, But at the time, we felt like we were like kind of beat down by corporations, and it's like kind of clear mindset, and we were like, we're from Clearweather, like that. Let's just go, So it was just kind of one of those things that we just kind of started doing it, and right away, like everybody started sending us like sponsor me tapes, for skateboarding. And we, just because of our history and our past, and like the first few years, we were like, we're not a skateboard company. We're just a lifestyle footwear brand, and we kind of pushed it off. And then I guess it was like in 2016 is when we launched skateboard shoes again, and it was like with the full concept, like suede where you need it. And like, it was very much function, know, and then, dude, it's a grind, bro. Like owning your own company. It's like, okay, cool. We sold enough to increase our buy a little bit. And, we're very, we kind of had what people call an angel investor, which is our partner, Darren Crawford. Right. And I've been friends with him since my early 20s. So he's seen my whole career from Vans, Yeah. And he was more or less, when we came up with the concept, we went to him and we were like, yo, like, will you do this with us? Like, and he was like, where's the contract? Like, let's go, know? And he more or less funded it the whole entire time, like solo, like, which we don't even want to talk about how expensive that is, right?
I can only imagine.
It's like whenever kids ask me about like starting a footwear brand, I'm like, start a clothing brand. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like the investment on molds and especially if you're going to do it proper and not use existing molds, it's expensive, Yeah. And he's just been great. I mean, he still to this day is our partner. Recently, about 8 months ago, my brother-in-law came in and invested. So that gave us like another bump, and we really kind of repositioned ourselves in the last 8 months, right? Because we were really kind of just design led, and let's just design whatever we want, and like our focus was literally like do new stuff every season, right? And it's like, as a designer, it's awesome because you get to do new stuff all the time.
The creative juices keep flowing,
but you're constantly ahead of consumers, right? And it doesn't work in a business sense, you know what I mean? Because you have to stick with your hitters and like, massage them, let them grow and let them. So we've really like kind of repositioned like our back end to be like, okay, let's go. Like Clearweather is like mountain, desert, ocean, concrete. Like that's like Clearweather, right? It's like we are going to focus on the activities and our lifestyle that we're all about. Right. So it's like, whereas before we were just very much like a niche designer brand. Right. I mean, we've had collaborations with Barney's New York. Like we did a collaboration with Tariq Trotter from The Roots. We've done shit. Right. But it's like, we just kind of felt like, let's be true to ourselves and what we're about and our lifestyle, and let's go after that. And that's really like, I mean, it's California culture, dude. That's like what we do, and that's what we specialize in, and that's what we push, Yeah.
And so through all the designs, what is the one that you've like with Clearweather that you say, what is your favorite that you've done, Brandon? But also, what do you see looking at the numbers, looking at the sales? Which one do consumers usually gravitate towards more?
Well, like right now, like, which is crazy. It's like the switchback, right? It's like our blown EVA shoe that we just did. It's like those things they're I have trouble wearing other shoes because they're so comfortable, right? And it's like I have all kinds of other shoes that I need to represent because it's my brand, right? But it's like, yeah.
It's the easy one. It's the comfortable one.
Oh man, they're so comfortable, and it's like, it's cool to see, like, it's working, right? We're selling a lot of those. And like the whole angle on that thing was like, we camp and we hike and we do all that stuff. And it's like, I kind of looked at it like, okay, how can we design like the perfect, like camping, after hiking shoe? Well, all those shoes are recovery shoes, right?
Exactly.
And it's like, I felt like, especially right now, it's like everybody that's doing those shoes is just going super hard, futuristic, like crazy looking stuff,
Got a spaceship on my foot, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, it's kind of a hard wear, right? But then again, I don't want to, there's no way you're going to catch me in a pair of Crocs,
I'm right there with you, don't worry.
So it's like, the best comment we got on Instagram, which was so sick, was like, some dude just put, "Oh, I totally get it. Crocs for people with style." And I was like,
"Hey, there you go. You nailed it."
And yeah, he definitely nailed it. And I was like psyched on that. But also too, right now I'm running the Qualifier heavily. It's like a new, like the premium vulcanized shoe that we did. It's got like our curved line arc, like on the side, which is like kind of our new side branding.
Yeah.
And then the Kenny Andersons. That's my skate shoe right now. It's like the best. It's the best shoe. It's like got a killer, like Kenny's like half Japanese, so it's got a real like Japanese utilitarian like look to it, like heritage like style, which I really love those. I've been stuck in those a lot lately too.
That's the go-to one. That's that one in a switchback.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool, man. So, one of the shoes, the one that always catches my eye is the Aries. So, one of your trainers.
Yeah.
I just love it's really futuristic looking to me. I love the different materials that are on there. It's just, I don't know. You look at certain shoes and you can tell, okay, there's like, I see that one. It's like, man, the design, the thought behind that shoe to me is just fantastic. I love the way that one looks.
Yeah, thank you, dude. My brother did that one, but it's like, it's like one of those things where it's like, we've rebought that, like the Aries Earth Gray, that specific colorway. Like we're having more made right now, right? Because we did the Aries RG, which is like the rolling gaunt one on the Vibram outsole. Yeah, and it's like it's kind of refreshing because it's like we built that tool, like our first tool, right? And then we kind of went on this Vibram run where we're like, oh, it's like pre-existing outsoles. It's like way easier. Like, let's just do that, And but the main thing with like all of those, it's like you're working with another company, and it's like outsoles are late or like, it can throw off your timeline. Like footwear is very like rigid on timelines,
for sure.
Because if you mess up, you miss a season, and it's like it looks really bad, So it's like you gotta pay attention to that,
Yeah. No, as you go through like your journey of sneaker designing with your brand and other brands you work with, what is something you see now that you would hope to see more from other brands as well? Is there anything like, do you guys do specifically at Clearweather, or is it something you've seen along the line that you're like, man, I wish that brands would bring this type of, whether this energy back that they're missing or this type of way they build things, anything that just sticks out to you?
Well, I think, look, man, no matter what, from the beginning of Clearweather, like we very much like, we concentrate on materials, right? Because design, we have that. Like we know, we're both designers. We know how to design, right? But it's like for us, it's very important. Like, I'm definitely won't name names, right? But it's like you look at it and you look at other shoes on the market that are the same price as ours, and they're using like action leathers or like split leathers. It's not even real leather, bro. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, and we've always kind of took pride in like, we research the hides, we look at them, we make sure like everything is like of great quality. We've been with the same factory in China for 8 years, you know?
Nice.
So it's like, yeah. And they're friends, like they're straight up our friends, you know? And it's like, when I go out there for work, it's like, I'm actually psyched to go because I get to see all my friends that are working in the factory, you know? So it's like, I think that's the most important thing, right? Is to have a factory that understands your company and what you're trying to do, right? Because then you have your factory hitting you up. Like Michael, my factory owner, did it to me the other day. He was like, yo, there's this new company out of Japan that they do synthetics that are fully waterproof and like, and just like the properties of them like look so sick and it looks like a awesome leather. But my whole thing is like, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to let people know the function of it and let them know it is a synthetic and that it's not a leather. Right.
Not the guessing game that a lot of brands will do. It's like, is it leather or is it not? They won't like, I hate that they won't put a list of materials. And again, that's one of the things I can appreciate about what you do, Brandon, with Clearweather. I love that you guys have a very you're open with the materials. It's not you're not trying to cut corners and charge for the highest, because you're right. There's a lot of brands that will charge the same amount you guys do. I get to shoot a hand. I'm like, hey, what is this made out of? Like, it's not in the worst way possible. I'm not happy about what this is. So I like that you guys are very conscious about what you're actually giving to your audience, what you're giving to your consumer, because I mean, people make the company, people buying it make the company. So being able to give them a quality product for, honestly, I think what you guys are charging is super fair. Cause again, I can look at another brand shoes, like you charging me $50 more than what Brandon's charging me, and I'm getting nothing.
And that's the thing. It's like with people like you and probably a lot of the people that are like, you know, watch your podcast and stuff, it's like, these are people that know the footwear game, right? It's like your everyday person doesn't even know the difference between like an action leather or a regular leather, right? Yeah. But to me, it's like kind of our responsibility to like let people know that this is full grain leather, you know, this is like, you know, hand-picked hides. This is a big deal. I can use the Wampa as a perfect example of that, right? It's like our Wampa boot. It's like,
it's just a cool boot.
We're launching. We're actually today, right now, my phone's blowing up because we're launching our US Wampas, right? Okay. So it's like right now, 8 minutes ago, we launched them. So
that's the black ones. I'm looking at them right now, right?
Yeah. So
the made in the USA.
Exactly. So the Wampa is a hitter for us, dude. Like we do well. Like with the Wampa, every time we do them, it's like we damn near sell out, or we get down to skeleton sizes, you know? And, so for us, like we do our US version of it, which is the one you're seeing, right? But then we also do our China one, right? Okay. And this season we're relaunching it because we ended up opening our own outsole tool for the Wampa, right? Okay. Which is before it was Vibram, and like the outsoles are always late and it throws you off your plan. And I was just kind of started doing the research, and I was like, dude, we could just open our own version of this, you know, and let's take the money that we saved and put it back, because Vibram's expensive, dude. Like any way you look at it, Vibram outsoles are like, they're taking in inflation and just running with it, right? But it's like we took what we saved in the outsole and we put it back into the shoe. So it's like now the China Wampas are going to be fully leather lined. Like we're putting a PU insole in it to make them more comfortable. The lightning, their anti-slip tool, like the outsole, it's like they're going to be next level. Like these next ones that come out, which I'm going to China in early October to like finish them up. So
I'm about to try a pair of those out. So I was watching someone else's YouTube video, and they had mentioned them. And I saw them, like, man, these are really cool. Like, I live in Houston, so we don't get weather like that, you know. But I mean, I can find some cold weather to throw those bad boys on. Those are just slick. I like that.
Oh, we got the new Wampa Low. Like, we've done Wampa Lows before, but now we're doing this season. We're doing a black leather with suede on the upper panel, and it's a low top. It's going to be sick, dude. You could wear that in Houston for sure.
I was like, I'm going to keep an eye out for that one because I love a good like lace up boot. And those, man, there's just something about them. I love the beefiness of it. Just, again, I know your materials are going to be solid, so it's just all the way around just a great model. And like I say, I saw someone actually wearing them. I saw them they were wearing the high tops, but they were like fixing it up with shorts and everything. Like, man, this was just a good looking shoe, man.
Those kind of went crazy. Like, for us, it all happened when Future bought them at Barney's.
Oh.
So my friend Chris Pepe, he used to be like the head men's footwear buyer at Barney's. That's how we had like billboards like in LA of like our collaboration we did with them, this and that. And it was literally, I don't know if it was Future or it was like their stylist like came in and bought like a pair of the Wampa Timbers, and then he wore them in his video. And then it was crazy because everybody was like DMing us and like commenting on our things. Oh, I see how it is. Like, you guys raised your price once Future like wore them, and we're like, yo, they've been $350 the whole entire time. We haven't raised our prices at all, and we didn't give them to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he actually bought them. You know? Yeah. So that became a hit, obviously, like with athletes and all that. We had plenty of tunnel walks, like with, Wampas, so yeah.
I'm just gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to pull the trigger, Brandon. I'm just gonna have to do it because you know what? I have enough cargo pants to throw these suckers on. It may have to be my next buy.
There you go.
That's awesome, man. Well, shoot, just all the stories and everything that, man, you have led an amazing life in the sneaker world. And I'm sure, of course, your normal life just kind of corresponds with that. So the stories, everything, it has been awesome to sit and talk with you, man. Like, I appreciate that.
Thanks for taking the time. I mean, it's always good to like get on and talk about history with people, especially when it's footwear. It's like something like, like you get to a point where it's like, this is so much of your life that it's like your friends and your family is like, that's all you talk about.
Hey, look, you're always welcome here. Anytime you want to just get that out your system, we're here for you. Don't you worry.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, man. Well, before we finish up, is there anything, Brandon, that you got going on besides, of course, the U.S. Wampa that's dropping right now as we're talking? Anything else coming up down the pipeline you want to let the people know about?
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of stuff coming. We got Evan Smith's new signature shoe coming, which that'll be a big one, Cool, man. He's insane. He's been riding for us for about, I guess, like 6 or 7 months now. We got a new switchback color coming, which will be Victor Bernardo's like signature. And he surfs for us. He's a ripping surfer, dude. Look him up, Victor Bernardo. He's insane. So yeah, dude, we're just looking forward to like traveling, going on team trips and getting a lot of film and footage and just keep on pushing like our agenda and like what we're just really trying to stay true to like what we're about, man. And like, I feel like the more people like kind of realize like what we're doing and where we're pushing, it's like, I feel like it'll resonate with people, And we actually are about to launch another brand, which is called Typecast, and it's more of like a high end EVA footwear brand.
Okay,
so
hey, you stay busy.
I'll send you some sneak peeks on that. But we're launching that, I believe, in 2 weeks. So it's all under it's under the Clearweather umbrella, but we're really trying to like we're just trying to build like our portfolio, you know what I mean? kind of flex, dude, you know, and let people know like this is what we do, you know.
That's amazing, man. Like I love it. You guys stay busy and it's like good stuff. So like everything is like just still quality build, even though you're staying like in these again, you're just different lanes. I love it, man. So I can't wait to see him. Can't wait to see what you guys got cooking up there. But Brandon, let the people know where they can find you, bud.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely find us online at clearweatherbrand.com. You know, perfect. I mean, that's our main push. You'll probably be seeing us a little more in select like premium, you know, sneaker boutiques and stuff like that. I mean, we're just trying to figure out like that whole. We're being really particular about that, you know. You're definitely not going to see us in like huge chain stores. You got to come find us. You know?
Not Foot Locker. We're not doing that, guys. So move along.
No. Too much risk.
Yeah. No, man. Well, hey, I appreciate the time, Brandon. Again, I love your story, man. I love what you guys are doing out there with Clearweather. And guys, check them out. Clearweather. They have some amazing product. They have amazing like quality product, not just amazing product, but quality products. They're doing amazing things. So Brandon, again, thank you so much for the time, guys. Make sure you do follow Sneaker History. Make sure you follow Clearweather. And until next time, see ya.
Thank you guys so much.
Hey everyone, this is Nick again. Before you take off, do us a solid and head over to Apple Podcasts to leave us a review. Give us a rating on Spotify and Amazon Music, and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel because we have even more video content coming soon. Speaking of new content, we have an amazing community of sneaker enthusiasts that hang out in our Sneaker History Discord on a daily basis. While sneakers is a connection point that brought us all together, we've all discovered countless shared passions that we have in common with each other. We recently launched a couple of new podcasts directly from our community. One of them is a Formula One podcast. If you're an F1 fan like me, the Exhaust Notes podcast is your weekly fix of Formula One fun. It's hosted by myself, Rohit Malhotra, and Todd Yates. New episodes drop every Tuesday. I've been wearing fitted hats for years and collecting my favorite teams since I was a little leaguer. It has been awesome to see so many new fans getting into fitteds in recent years. Crown and Stitch is our new talk show about fitted hats with Dexter, Keith, and myself, where we talk about fitted hats, snapbacks, throw in some obscure hats because we all kind of like some funky stuff once in a while, don't we? Copping, collecting, and so much more. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Hit the links in the show notes for this episode to give our new shows a listen, and be on the lookout for more new podcasts dropping soon. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Thank you all for the support, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.